Okay, so in this one, we're looking at readers infer messages in works of fiction and nonfiction. So that means that we are looking for messages, things that the author is trying to tell us through what they are writing. And this can include nonfiction as well. It isn't always just stories in the sense of a fictional story, like a fairy tale with a moral and that sort of thing. But nonfiction stories can have messages as well. So it can be a real life person's decisions and that sort of thing, and have a story or a message that goes along with it. You know, you can think of the Bible, for example. The Bible has many different stories that we consider nonfiction that tell a message, that has something that we can learn from when it comes to it. So, like, for example, Gideon was a coward, and he was not a very brave person, but God called him a mighty man of valor. And he didn't believe what God called him to be, but throughout the story and throughout the things that God did, God proved that he was a mighty man of valor if he relied on God. So in examples like that, we can see that there's a message. We can see there's something that we can learn from this, even in stories that are nonfiction. Okay? It doesn't just have to be fictional stories. So going forward, we're going to go ahead and create a list together of messages that authors using symbols could create or send to their readers. So we're going to create a list of messages. So let's see, what kind of messages could an author tell you? So we don't have to think about symbols just yet. Okay, that'll be in the very next step. But thinking about just messages, things that, like morals of stories, those sort of things. What are some things that they could be sending to you? Amelia?
They change their feelings about things.
Okay, so convincing you of an argument, right? So change thinking. So we'll go ahead and write that down. Okay, so change thinking. What's something else that an author could send a message through? Like what are some other things that the author could tell you or try to get you to do? So an author could try to get you to change your thinking through what they're writing. Wesley, what else?
An author could also try to tell you not to be greedy.
Okay, so teach you something, right? So teach a moral. We'll go ahead and we'll go with that. Teach. That was a terrible H, but oh well. Okay, so teach a moral, like not to be greedy, don't steal, don't kill, the 10 Commandments, right? It could be teaching you a moral. What's something else that an author could send a message through their writing? Let's think. There's lots of different things. Zoe?
How to do something?
Yeah, so it could be like an instruction manual, right? How to do something. Okay, what's something else? So we've got a pretty good list so far. So how to do something, like an instruction manual, teach a moral, change your thinking on something, so like an argumentative essay, something like that. What's another thing that an author could do? I got the same people. Amelia.
Tell you the character's feelings.
Okay, so they could, let's go a little deeper than just telling character feelings. They could connect stories that, they could make stories that connect with your life.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that. So, make real life connections. Okay. Some other things, London?
They can tell you what it's like outside or
Okay, so they can share information. Okay. All right. Anything else? Marcos?
They can teach you what to do and what not to do.
Okay, so like teach a moral. Yup. They could do something like that. It's a little bit harder now that we got so many things on the list. So it's a little harder to come up with stuff. Brecken?
Teach a life lesson.
Yup. Teach a moral. Teach a life lesson. Yup. Anything else? Wesley?
They can have you visualize it.
Okay. So they could help you visualize things. Yep. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's a message though that they're trying to send you. But yeah, they could make you visualize something when they're teaching you how to do something, or teaching a moral. It can get you to visualize things through a lot of different things, right? So for example, if I'm teaching you a moral not to steal, but you don't get it, you're like, well, why? Stealing's fun. And you're trying to figure out, I can help you visualize why you shouldn't steal by making a story, right? Of somebody feeling bad because something of theirs was stolen. Then you go, oh, so that's why we don't steal. So you can see how authors can help you visualize things through the messages that they're teaching you or trying to send you. So visualizing actually runs through all the things that we have on the list. Okay, anything else? I think we have a pretty good list here. So let's go ahead and here's some more examples. So they could be sending a message of freedom. They could be sending a message of trying to tell you to teach you to tell the truth, which is like teaching a moral, right? Standing firm in your faith. So maybe it's more of a religious thing, so a Christian message that the author is trying to send. Or it could be a message of encouragement, a message to keep you more upbeat, to keep you going from day to day. Okay, so there's a lot of different messages, also knowledge, which we kind of hit on here, share information, how to do something. So knowledge connects pretty well with those. So these are just some more ways to say what we said here. Okay? All right. So now that we have this list of things, we have a bunch of messages. Can we come up with symbols for each of these messages? So you can even use the examples. I'll go back to the examples. But choose 3 messages and come up with symbols each message might use to try and symbolize these things. So thinking about the stuff that's on our list and some of these examples here, what's a symbol that you could come up with that would be connected to one of these messages? Because remember, authors use a lot of different ways to send their author's purpose, their message that they're trying to make. So in this particular case, what symbol would they use for each of these messages? Wesley, what's a symbol you can think of?
For change thinking, like if you think it's okay to go around and kill people left and right without having a care, it could change your thinking about that.
Okay, so they could come up with some sort of story or whatever. But let's see if we can come up with symbols. So objects or words that send a message. Objects or words that send a message. London? Yeah, so the cross, yep, that would work for a lot of different of these messages, like freedom, telling the truth, standing firm in your faith. Those would all be good symbols. Teach a moral lesson, maybe. The cross would be a symbol that could be tied into that kind of message. What's some other symbols, Brecken?
Maybe a smile.
Okay, a smile. So maybe that would go into encouragement. Something like that. Zoe?
Standing firm in the faith, that means, with like a Bible or something.
Okay, yeah, maybe the Bible. The Bible can be a symbol, and that could be for standing firm in your faith. That could send that message. What's something else, Wesley?
Totem pole. It tells the tale of distant relatives. that
Okay.
passed.
Yeah, so a totem pole, right, for certain cultures, right, they would use those to tell the history. So that could be, I mean, it's not one of the messages on here. Well, actually, knowledge, right? Knowledge, it would fit under there. So it could be a message or a symbol showing knowledge about ancestry, that sort of thing. Anything else? Any other symbols that you could think of? What about our last story? The butterfly represented freedom, right? Could also represent encouragement, because Monique was encouraged because she believed that her friend must have survived at the end of the story. So she was down, but then she felt encouraged when she saw those butterflies. So symbols for that as well. Anything else? Okay. Some good answers. All right. So this is going to be your mini lesson response. Write a list of symbols in your reader's response notebook. So we did this already with sticky notes at the beginning of the week. You came up with one symbol. Now you're going to come up with a list. This could come from your book that you're reading in library. It could come from the book that you're reading in group reading. It could come from just things that are in the classroom. It could come from things that are at your house. Think beyond just one little area of your life. Think of all the different things that could possibly be symbols, and then you're going to write a list in your mini lesson response. That's section 2. Okay, Zoe?
Does it have to be from a book?
Nope, it can be in your own life, or it could be in this classroom. There's a symbol there. And a symbol there. So there's a few different things, right? There's a few different things. Symbol right here. So there's all kinds of symbols that you could be looking for, right? Your own parents probably have some symbols too that they carry around.
Rings.
So think of, yep, that would be one of them, but there's a few others. So think of those things and write those things down in a list. All right? So go ahead and get started. Get your stuff